Hey, what's up, guys? We're back out in the shop again today. There's so much I didn't record that got done. This is my dashboard now. It looks super fucking sick. This is welded together, and then the screws on here. Tabs stick out of the dash. These two are welded together. Screws on here, right there, and then two in the back into the dash panel. I made the sickest swing out relay panel. Right there. Obviously, there's nothing in it because everything's apart. We're working on painting the car. I'm trying to get done on Saturday. It's Thursday, so there's 2 days. So today and tomorrow, I have to get this car cleaned out, wiped, or scuff everything up. Everything has to get scuffed with the Scotch-Brite pads, including the cage. I'm even going to scuff it. Maybe it'll help. Maybe not. It'll take a couple minutes. But scuff everything. Strip any type of adhesive or anything out. Clean up what I want cleaned up. And then rip all the moldings off that are going to be in the way and wipe it down with acetone, tack cloth, spray it. I tried to test spray the other day. The gun I had was all clogged up from something else. So I'm going to buy a new one. It's just a Harbor Freight gun. So I'm going to buy a couple of them to paint this with. But right now, we got a cool new tool in. I've been always wanting one of these for so freaking long. This is a Dimple Die. Put this like this. Drill a hole. Put this through the material and then press those two together and it dimples it. And I've been like looking at Dimple Dies for a long time. I love them. Sets are usually like $300 or $400, and this was only $30 shipped. And for one die, it's 1.25 inches. I plan on making my heel plates with it, so it was super cheap. We'll see how it does. We're only going to do aluminum with it, but we're going to test it out right now and see how well it does. Alright guys, so I threw it in the press and that's what it came out with. I mean, that looks pretty freaking good. I'm happy with that. Just a little scrap piece I tested it on. Alright guys, so today is the day where we finalize the cleaning on the Mustang. Tomorrow I'm probably going to do the tack cloth just in case any particles settle overnight. But today we're going to wipe everything down with acetone, get all the oils and dirt and grime off the paint so it'll have something to bond to good. Yesterday I went through, cleaned up a couple spots that needed to be cleaned up, scuffed it up with like all the tubes, all the chassis with Scotch-Brite pads. You gotta get these really heavy duty ones, not like the green ones. These are meant for like scratching stuff up. I have the heat on in my shop. I want to bring the shop up to temperature tonight into tomorrow so the car will actually start to warm up, because the car is not going to be 60 degrees right away like the shop will. So if we take this laser thermometer, I don't know if you guys can read. It says it's only 52, 51. It's a lot better than I was expecting. I want the car to be 60 degrees at least. I'm not doing the same type of method. I'm just guessing 60 degrees. I'm going to crank the heat up to like 70 after I paint it. I'm going to roll it outside, spray it, roll it back inside, let it sit here and dry. So that's the plan. I'm going to wipe everything down right now with a rag with acetone. Last night I used a wet rag just to get the heavy grime, because underneath all that trim, especially in the trunk area, is a thick layer of just like dust and dirt. So used a wet rag to get all that stuff out, a couple of them, and now I'm going to go back with the acetone on everything, and hopefully we'll get some cleaning done tonight. So, pretty much, I'm just going to start in the back and work my way forward. I already vacuumed out all the major stuff, so it's a little bit down there. I just realized I got to get the extension for the vacuum to suck that up. I'm just going to go through with this little Scotch-Brite pad and just scuff it up. As you can see, it scuffs it a little bit just to get a little roughness for the paint. Then I'm going to vacuum again, blow it out, then vacuum again. Then I'm going to wipe everything down. Alright guys, so I got the entire car wiped down with acetone. That's what I'm actually going to be thinning the paint with. So that's what I'm using to wipe the car down. It's not too terrible. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's a pain in the ass. I thought prepping my 240 for paint was bad because I sanded that and primed it myself. This is like 10,000 times worse. No lie. I hate it. But we're here doing it. But, you know, we can't skip out on now. Of course, with paint, the more work you put in, the better product you get. So I'm trying to make sure everything's pretty decent. I'm not looking for a perfect paint job. I want it to be glossy. Honest to God, I want it to look good and just be glossy. And that will make me happy. I know this Rust-Oleum will do that. Some spots aren't going to be perfect, but it's just, you know, it is what it is. I'm not a painter either, so who knows. But as you can see, we're starting to get it masked off. So hopefully tomorrow I can come in here, tack cloth the car, and just push it outside, paint it, and roll it back in. But we'll see. Guys, so it's pretty toasty. We're up to 70 degrees in the shop. This hoodie's hot. Now, I was going to spray this outside, just run outside real quick and spray it, but the wind picked up today, which is going to kill it, especially because the whole roof is spraying exposed tubes. It's going to get blown away. So, hoping that there's not a lot of overspray, we set up, again, a little, just block that stuff off. Hopefully, there's not a lot of overspray because we're spraying inside. So, we're going to try it and see how it works. Alright guys, so the car is painted. Oh man, if I insert the clip, you guys will see I started painting it with just like one of these respirators, which I know is not made for this. And as you can see, it let plenty of paint in. My nose is like gray inside. Oh, one sec, gotta put this back on. Anyway, I painted the car, picked up a little respirator because I ran out of paint. I originally bought a quart. I don't know why I thought that'd be enough. I figured thin it, you got a half gallon, should be good. It wasn't. A quart got me 3/4 of the way through the main cabin area. Didn't really get the driver's side door bar and jam and stuff done. So I had to run out. I bought a whole entire gallon of paint. Picked up this respirator because I ended up having to stop a bunch of different places to get the paint. Picked a little Harbor Freight guy. It kept paint out of my nose, which I'm happy about. But here's the paint job. Let me say I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not a painter, and this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. And I think it came out sick. Looks just like I wanted to, so here it is. As you can see, it actually is still very wet, but it looks wet. It should come out about this glossy. This Rust-Oleum is usually pretty good with coming out glossy. This will all get covered up by the windshield, which is why I didn't get too close. There's a couple spots I'm gonna have to touch up with rattle can. I already had to hit up in here. I also did a little test. This is with the gun. That's with rattle can. I don't think you can tell on camera. Maybe a little bit, but I think, like I said, it came out sick in my opinion. Very wet looking. And I mean, some tubes were hard to get to, so of course I'm probably gonna have to go back. Like, I can't get behind the power steering mount. I can't get the gun back there, and I can't even get to the back of this dashboard really. So there's a couple spots I'm gonna have to go back once the car is dry and touch up with the spray cans, but I literally have to get in the car for that. So like I said, we have to wait until it's dry. Then I can do that. So tomorrow, I'm just gonna leave the heat on in here, let this thing cure real good. Monday, I wanna start putting it back together. But, I mean, I love it. This is like, the trunk, I don't know why, but this came out looking so fucking wet. It is so wet, but it looks ridiculously glossy. Anyway, guys, I'm in love with this. I think it came out great. I've never spray painted a roll cage before. I spray painted a car once, my 240, like before it was purple, and it came out terrible. But this came out pretty damn decent for not really having any idea of what I was doing. So I'm gonna call that a day. I'm gonna wrap it up. We have to put this thing back together. Next is gonna be putting the roof on. Pretty stressed out about that. That has to be lined up really well, you know, because your windshield and back glass count on that. But that's it, guys. The paint is done. Hopefully this stuff dries up perfect, stays nice and glossy. Let me just show you. There's one little spot that didn't really come out too glossy. I don't know if you're gonna be able to tell on camera. Back in this area here in the rear seat, and even the sides a little bit, they came out with a little bit of dry spray. And the reason is I can't get the gun in there to get a good even coat. especially once, like at first I got a couple good coats on them, but once the tubes got painted, I couldn't actually get the gun through. But worst comes to worst, touch it up with the spray paint, and I don't think I'm gonna need to though. All right, guys. So you saw yesterday, we finished up the paint job. It looks great. There was just a couple spots that I couldn't get the gun or I missed when I was painting because it was hazy in here, and it's a little bit hard to tell the metal from the gray in spots where I feel like it could be overspray, but it's not fully covered and you just can't really see that. So the insides of these pillars weren't done. I touched this one up. I went to touch this one up. And I haven't touched this pillar or anything with it since I sprayed it. It had no problems. It looked great, but the inside edge wasn't covered. So I was like, I'll just hit it with the spray can real quick. And I've already done that in quite a few spots of the cage that I've seen. Hit it with the spray can because it's still 70 degrees in here to give it a good chance to dry. So I was like, I'll just do it now. So, well, I scratched the hell out of that. But I hit it with the spray can on this inside edge and a little bit up there. And even there, actually, you can see the paint like bubbled up. And this whole thing orange peeled and started running. I barely even hit it. So I was like, shit. And the paint isn't fully dry yet, so I didn't really want to use acetone on it. But I was like, you know what? If I have to repaint it, I have to repaint it. So I was already going to mix up paint today to paint the roof. Now I'm going to have to paint the pillar as well. Just going to hit that real quick. Have to tape it back off, spray it, call it a day. That's going to be it. The car is almost dry. Everything is dry to the touch, but it's still soft. And this hood's covered in paint from test spraying. And I mean, you can see it's still pretty soft, so we're almost there. All right, guys, so I went to town super quick. Laid on another coat. We're back to being glossy. Right there is still messed up, and so is right there. But honestly, I'm happy it's fixed. I don't want to get too involved and mess up anything that wasn't messed up. And while I was at it, honestly, I didn't tape this off. I was just real careful, and I re-hit this one because the spray paint did mess it up a little bit on the inside. So that looks pretty decent. Now let me tell you guys something about this Rust-Oleum paint, and the reason I went with it personally. Now, I am not a painter. I'll tell anyone that. It's not my thing. I never learned it, of course. That's a pretty fine skill. And automotive paint, sorry, cut it off, but automotive paint is not as forgiving as this Rust-Oleum stuff. Now, I did think about going with the color on the 240, which is that purple, for the interior. Kind of because, one, it would look cool, and two, it would kind of pay homage to the 240 and keep that theme alive. But I decided no, because I can't buy that paint off the shelf. I have to order it through my uncle, plus the reducer and the hardener that goes with it. And I'm not a pro at mixing that stuff, and that stuff sprays on way more thin than this Rust-Oleum. It's a very thin paint, and it will run really, really quick. This Rust-Oleum stuff is so forgiving, which I've heard other people describe it as well. It comes out glossy, which is my biggest thing. I want a nice glossy, just in my head, that's what I see. And it also sticks, like it's some sticky ass paint. I laid it on so thick, my gun started spraying odd. I just hit it. There was ripples in the A-pillar gusset, like when it laid down, and I was like, fuck. I had to sand that all off. Nope, it laid right out. This stuff does not run. It's a miracle. I don't know how. And I just hit them again. The one A-pillar has a lot of paint on it. It's thick. You can see it, like the way it covers the welds. But that's just because I redid it another coat just now. But it's such a forgiving paint, and I can touch it up with the brush-on stuff and with rattle cans. So if I decide to add a gusset, I can just spray paint it real quick after I grind the paint off or brush it on, and I can get it all at the hardware store, which is super easy, and that's one of the reasons I did it. There's a lot of dirt in it. You can't really see. There you go. There's a lot of dirt in this, but honestly, you're not going to see this at all once it's on, so I'm not that worried about it. Just wanted it gray. This is just hiding the welds, so I can still weld it down and have bare metal. Now what I plan on doing is welding this in, then going back with the spray paint can and just touching up in that seam. You don't even see it, but I'm just going to blast a little bit of spray paint in that seam before I finish it so it won't rust. And that's pretty much what I plan on that. We have some downtime. This is drying. We can't really stir up a lot of dust and start on some other projects. And I didn't really want to get into this because I don't have my dad's help today, and sticking that vinyl on is going to be a two-man job. I decided to paint some other interior parts, so once they go back in, they're done. This has to get painted. It's ugly. It's not going to be hidden, so it has to get fixed. And this shaft, I wanted to powder coat it, but the rod end slides on this, so I have to powder coat up to a certain point because that thing won't fit over top of powder coat. And if I paint it black, it's going to get scratched sliding the rod in. So my dad was like, hey, why don't you clear coat it? I was like, you know what? So I brushed it with the same pad I used to scuff the car up. Just these pads here. 3M stripping pads. And it gives it like a brush look, and I'm going to clear coat it. And it should be a nice contrast from the dash being red and the interior being glossy gray. So we're going to clear coat that now and then get painted on this brake. Alright guys, so I'm pretty much deciding to wrap up this video of the build. Decided today we're going to start to put the car back together. It's been, what's today? Today's Wednesday. The car was painted on Saturday. So 4 days since I painted the car. I had to respray the A-pillars like we saw. The only thing that I had an issue with was this door bar. I think I showed you guys the mark. Jesus, almost tripped. I leaned on it. Focus. I leaned on it and the paint just wrinkled over. I was leaning on it for a while and the paint felt solid, but the bottom layer of paint never dried. The top was like a skin that did kind of dry and it just shifted. So I'm super bummed about that because that's right in what you're going to see when you look in the car. But all that, well, that area should be pretty much just covered by the padding because we're going to pad the cage like you should anywhere it can contact your body. So, you know, I am bummed about it. I'm not going to lie, that really upset me because I put a lot of time into this cage and a lot of time into painting it. And I mean, look at the thing. I think it looks fucking great. So that to be the only part that got messed up, I guess I'm kind of relieved. But it was a big blow to me. And I kind of brushed on some paint on top because you can brush this stuff on. Brushed it on just to kind of level it out some so the wrinkles weren't as obvious. Kind of worked. But it's still soft. It's still soft. 4 days later, that's the only spot on the entire car, that back 8 inches. If you push it, you leave a fingerprint. And I guess it's getting better, but we'll see. So I did make something. I made this with my Dimple Die tool. It is a heel plate. The back ones are dimpled backward, the opposite direction, so that way your feet catch that, like so your feet don't want to slide out of the pedals where they're at. So I'm going to make a video on how to make those. That's going to be the next video because I have to make one for the passenger side. So I'm going to show you guys the process I went through to make those because I think that these things, first off, they look sweet. They are like the coolest thing to me. I've always, like, I don't know if you guys understand. This is like my dream build, which is not saying a lot because it's not like that high tier, but like it's an obtainable dream build. Let me put it that way. I've always wanted to build a drift car like this, like from the ground up, build a cage, build a super simple wiring harness, and build things myself so I can engineer it, so I can work on it, which is kind of what I'm doing here, and it's a really big deal to me to be able to do this. So I'm kind of incorporating all these ideas I've always had that I just never did. I never had time or the ambition to do on my 240 because honestly I've lost interest in the 240 because I see it as a throwaway chassis, so I don't want to invest time like this. So you will be seeing that video, and I'm going to start putting this thing back together. The dash has to get wrapped. I'll probably show some of that on video. All this is going to be getting wrapped. I'm not telling you guys the color. You'll see it when the video comes. It's going to be fucking sweet. But that's enough talking for now, guys. One last look at this fucking cage. I mean, it dried. This paint dried so good. It's still super glossy. It's actually really hard in the spots that did dry, except for that fucking door bar. And I love it. This is actually, like, once again, this is something I've always imagined. Like, you know, when you're into something, you always imagine doing something with it, you know? And, like, when I was in high school and I had my 240, I could have never done this stuff then. But I always thought, like, dude, I want to do this to a car. You know, it's going to have this, it's going to have that. And then this Mustang came out, and I got to do it, and, like, I'm so excited. You guys have no idea how much time I just put into this thing and how much time I want to put into it. Like, I'm always, like, trying to get out here and work because getting this car done is, like, my top priority. I want to see it so bad. But that's enough rambling, guys. That's it for this video. Look out for the Dimple Die video, the Dimple Die heel plates. That's going to be a good one. And I'll see you guys later.